I've got the car jacked up, jack stands with the jack underneath the trans. I'm gonna use that to go up with it. Got the headlight and the bumper off, so we can get a drill in here to drill the hole. And then on this side, we got the battery out, the battery tray, the air box, the intake tube. Basically just trying to give ourselves access to all the mounts. So, and the last one down there, I'm gonna try some stuff from the top, but ultimately most likely drop the subframe, which I think is the next step. So yeah, we're gonna try and get the spacers and longer bolts in the rear first, and have these two mounts loose, so we can move the engine around and get those, because they're really hard to get to. Boom! There we go. Alright, so one thing you might need the grinder for is this bracket. When it's when the motor's raised up, it's going to make contact with the lower part of the chassis right here. And so I just need to make little notches in this so it'll actually clear when it's raised up. But yeah, this bracket is going to make contact with this when we raise it up, so we got to make little notches in this bracket. Little guy bolted to the trans. Okay, and you can use the bracket and bolt it in just like this to run the drill bit through the holes. This way you know that hole is exactly where you need it. Boom. So yeah, after you get that first hole drilled on this side, you can bolt in the bracket this way and get that second one going. Yeah, and just to be clear, this is not how the bracket is installed. We're just using the bracket that goes on the passenger side to help us mark the holes where we need to drill on the driver's side. Which is what we're doing right now. Sick. I'm hyped, dude, because I only had this idea in my head, but I've never actually done it. So really? Yeah, the fact that it actually does work is cool.
Damn.
That should be lined up exactly where you need it, which, yes sir.
That's all we got.
That's all we got. Boom. Driver's side done. So how we've got this set up now is the engine is set up on the jack, and I've lowered it all the way. These mounts, the passenger mount is gone, the driver mount is gone, and we lowered the engine as much as we can to, and the subframe's loosened up too, so the subframe's dropped a little bit. And this nut right here, can you see that? Oh, right there, yeah. Yep. Okay, yeah, that nut right there you can get to from the top like this with extensions. And what we're doing is unbolting the mount from the subframe itself. It's really hard to see at this angle, I know, but that's why we dropped the subframe, to hopefully get these back to from underneath. And yeah, I guess we'll show that in another clip from underneath, but that's the goal at the moment. Get that, got all the mounts out. Last goal is to get that one bolted or unbolted from the subframe, so we can get the longer bolts and spacers in there and show those guys. Boom. Yeah, those bolts and the spacers are going underneath that rear mount, between the mount and the subframe. This is the pain in the ass part when the engine's in, but yeah, all the mounts, goal is to loosen them up and have the engine supported by the jack underneath, so you can make it go down and up, whatever you need to do.
Yeah, you can.
Is this everything, or am I missing something?
Oh, you're missing one bolt and a nut. So with where is it? This guy. What is this? The fuel filter?
Filter,
Yeah, so the fuel filter moved out of the way, and then these little heater hose you can't really move it out of the way, but you can loosen it and move it a little bit. You can snake a bunch of extensions to get to this rear mount down here and get all three bolts out. There's one in the front, one in the back, and then one on the side over there. It's like, yeah. You're just gonna have to trust us. It's really hard to get an angle of it, but they're down there. Yeah, you can get to, and this is with the subframe dropped, so this makes a little bit more space, because the problem is the the space between the mount and the firewall there, and dropping the subframe allows you to get a little bit extra room. Yeah, right here. Yeah. What's that called? Firewall.
At least on a
Yeah.
front wheel drive wagon.
Yeah, all the way. All the EFs are like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're all really tight.
Yeah. Streaked, and I didn't even charge you, lucky bastard.
I told you what to do.
Right.
Yeah.
We got one of the spacers in now in between the subframe and this bracket right here in the mount. Well, not the bracket, but the mount. And we were able to get in there with a wobble socket and a bunch of extensions down through here. And that's the very back one. So the other one's located. Can you see? Can you see? No. But yeah, it's right here. My finger's wiggling. You can barely see it, but yeah, right there. That's the next one. We got to get a spacer underneath there and the bolt through. And then there's one over there too. Sorry guys, it's the best we got.
Please leave her alone.
Alright, 3 hours later, we got all 3 spacers and longer bolts here. You can see that shiny bolt is a new one. So now this rear mount is spaced up 1.5 inches from the subframe. So next move is to get the bracket bolted in on the passenger side. And yeah, do the other mounts, and should be good to go. So we got the mounted bracket back installed, mounted being the 2 little notches to clear here on the mount. Got the actual lift bracket installed, sorta. And this thing modified, so you gotta make these big notches in it to clear the bracket, which will make sense once we put this in there. And to do that, we shimmy it in from the back. Wanna hold that bad boy? Heck yeah. It's easier said than done.
It's a tight fit, but it does fit.
Very tight fit. Come on, baby. Yeah, I promise it fits. We had it in there a second ago. There we go. Okay. This has to be all the way back first. Oh, you kidding me? Getting caught on everything. There. Very specific technique, but there it is. Watch it as many times as you need to. Let's throw the bolt in.
If you need to, you could put the video in slow-mo on YouTube.
Yeah. So now at this point we just throw the main bolt back in and jack the engine back up and bolt in the driver's side. And yeah, engine should be raised. Then we'll just get all the other junk back together, but yeah, next step, bolt these back together, tighten these up.
And then we just use the stock bolt on that one?
Yep. Yeah, stock bolt runs through with the supplied nut. I'll just go. Bloop. Sick. Alright guys, we went crazy getting this thing kind of together. This mount's bolted in. Just raised the subframe back up and got this bracket to line back up with the trans. Hopefully you can see that. It'll make sense when you're doing it, I promise. Yeah, subframe is bolted back in, so now that's all in the right spot. Spacers and long bolts are in that rear mount. This guy's done, so now we just gotta shimmy this in until that bolt lines up right. And then we are raised. Why you do this to me every day? Oh, it's not even a 19. Fuck off.
Yeah, it's a little sketchy. Yeah, this seems similar.
Huh? She's raised. All buttoned up. Barely. Just kidding.